this was proved to be true as I became a sales manager and a GSM and a GM and a part, this worked all the way through, is that there has to be one person in your dealership that you respect, that you are willing to learn from.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is L.A. Williams, and I'm here live on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And man, I'm super excited about my guest that I have today. One reason why I'm excited is because I actually texted this gentleman. It was 6 a.m. here on the East Coast, which means it was like 3:30 in the morning where he was. And he texted me right back. Like, I was like, what? I was so shocked about that. But I shouldn't be, because he's always working, always focused on his craft, always doing what he got to do to win. Man, he and I we spent so much time together, brought me out to San Diego. I spent some time with him. We ate good. We rode good. Without further ado, I'm going to bring to the microphone my main man, Mr. Brian Kennedy. What's up, Brian?
What's up, LA? Man, it's good to be here. Good to talk with you.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited. And even when I told Sean that you were going to be on, he was extremely excited about that, man. So 100%, man.
You know what I was going to tell you? Sean's the best, but you're the best, so Sean can be a good number 2. Don't tell him I said that. Hopefully this isn't getting recorded. So
Too late.
Yeah, too late.
Man, your story is absolutely awesome, and we know it's still unfolding. But if you could just tell people how it began for you, whether pre-automotive industry, because I know most of us don't say we want to be in the automotive industry. So how did you kind of get into it? Or if you need to take us further back, do that.
Man, that's a great question. So yeah, definitely I didn't grow up with the, burning desire to sell cars, that wasn't in my, wasn't in my vision board, if you will. But always knew I wanted to be successful. Even when I was in high school, it was one of those things to where I worked my tail off in high school, got good grades, got into, some different schools, was going between Annapolis and Princeton and Stanford, and ended up going to UCLA. Was one of those things to where short story was I couldn't afford to go to the other schools. And, when I got to UCLA, I went there because my whole goal of going to college was to make money.
Yes.
I had no idea what I was going to do in college other than I heard engineers made money. I was good in math. I was good in physics and science. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to be an engineer. But then I realized that being an engineer sucks. And I like to talk to people. And I started talking to some people when I was living in LA, and, I told them I needed to make money. And, my folks didn't have really anything. And they suggested I start working part-time at Circuit City. So I was at UCLA, started working part-time at Circuit City, selling, VCRs at the time, TVs, big screens, stereo systems. And man, in the first 3 months, I made like $15,000, $16,000. I was making over $5,000 a month working part-time.
Rolling.
And I remember, at 18, that's long dollars.
Yeah. So,
definitely wasn't anybody else in the dorms making $5,000 a month.
For real.
For real. But, then I remembered what they were saying when I was at UCLA in the freshman orientation. And obviously UCLA is a great school. Loved my time there. And, but one of the things they mentioned was the average UCLA graduate makes $43,000 a year. Now, again, that's 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take me long to figure out I'm making more than the average UCLA graduate is working part-time selling VCRs. So it didn't take me long to figure out that something wasn't right? Something's not going to work in this equation.
Right.
And I'm not saying that a person shouldn't go to college, but after 2 years at UCLA, I left.
Mm-hmm.
And I left to go be a stockbroker because I had heard that is where the money was.
the money business.
Yeah, it is. It's a money business. It's a money business. And so I went into a great place right on Rodeo, right there in Beverly Hills, was all excited about it. Took my entrance exam, smoked it, got hired. And 2 days before I started, my best friend at the time, his name's also Brian, his dad worked at a Mitsubishi dealership in Bakersfield. And let me tell you something about Bakersfield, LA. It's terrible. I mean, talk about not being on your vision board. There's not a single person alive that has put Bakersfield on their vision board. You could be in prison and Bakersfield's not on your vision board. So he was telling me, man, he was like, you got to talk to my dad. He sells cars, works in a car dealership. He's a manager. He makes all kinds of money. And I didn't know what all kinds of money, but it sounded good. Right. And so I called him, he talked to me and he said, here's the deal, Kennedy, you're going to make $7,000 a month selling cars. And I'm going to do everything I can to teach you from the ground up. And I said, well, I think I'm going to be a stockbroker. I'm going to work in Beverly Hills. And he said, ask him how much you're going to make for the first year and ask him how often you're going to work. So I talked to the guys at the stock brokerage. They said, you're going to work, about 7 days a week for the first 6 months. You're going to be doing 400 cold calls a day. On top of that, you're going to be studying for your Series 7, your Series 63s, your this. And I did that. And it came out to be, I was going to make the same amount of money as I could if I was 8 years old working in Malaysia, making Kathy Gifford shoes.
That's crazy.
Oh, so lo and behold, I went to Bakersfield and my parents were distraught. Having their son leave UCLA to go be a stockbroker on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, that's a story you can tell. But telling people that your son left UCLA to go sell cars in Bakersfield, they had a hard time with that. And, so I get up there, I don't have any money. I don't know anybody. I'm an LA kid. I'm a city kid. I'm in a country spot. And the first 3 months of the business, it's different for everyone. But my first 3 months, I wasn't a superstar. Wow. I sold about 11 cars a month, 10 and a half cars a month for my first 3 months. And I was obviously frustrated at at my results. I was frustrated. I was making $4,000 a month, $3,800, $5,100. And there were some people that I was on the floor with that were selling 20 cars. And what I realized at the end of that 90 days is, and it clicked for me. And what clicked for me was the manager was telling me what to say. And instead of going in and telling my customers what my manager was telling me to say, I was listening to what the other salespeople were telling their customers. Ooh. And then I was trying to go take what they were saying, put my own spin on it, and then take it to my customers. Wow. So I was making a bad copy off of a bad copy from a bad copy. It was a disaster.
And so wait, we got to talk about that. So here's the thing. So you were selling 10, 11 cars a month. Now, right now, today, the average car salesman sells 9.6 units a month. Right. So you were already doing better than the average person, which, but it's basically average. Right. And the cool thing is that you weren't okay with that. See, the problem is that most people that are on the floor right now, they're okay. Now, I don't think I'm talking to my listenership. Like these are the folks that are the millionaire car salesmen. But you have people who are working right alongside you, people who are okay selling 9, 10, 11 cars a month. And you had something in you that said, no, that's not enough for me. You said 4,000, 5,100. That's not enough for me. I know that I can be doing better. And if great is available, why settle for good? Why settle for good when great's available? So 100%, man.
Yeah. And so, there's one thing that was very difficult for me to understand. And that is if I'm going to go to work and I'm going to work the same amount of time as the next guy, I'm going to be at the same store, I'm going to be talking to the same customers, working the same hours, I for damn sure better not be making less money than that dude. Because he's in the same place I am. And so either I'm going home every single night and I'm saying, you know, man, there's 10 people in this microcosm, my little dealership, and all of them are better than me. I'm mediocre. Or I had to wake up and say, man, I don't want to be mediocre. I've got to, you know, what is keeping me from being mediocre? So I went and talked to my manager, and, you know, this was my best friend's dad. And I'd known, he said, Brian, he said, listen, I'm going to tell you word for word what you need to say, but you need to become, you need to stop. You're too smart. You need to stop trying to tell your customers the answers. You need to stop. All you need to do is you need to make sure that they like the car. And if they like the car, you need to just say, I'm going to go work for you. If I can make this work for you and your family, is this something we can make happen today? He said, and that's all you got to ask. And then we can go ahead and I'll teach you how to overcome any objection. So I did it. I did what he said. And then I would tell him what the objection was. He would tell me word for word what to say. And it worked. And
what a concept.
Lo and behold, the manager knew what he was talking about, right? And now I was fortunate though, because I had a manager that took care, that actually, you know, took an interest into developing me. You know, not all managers do that, but you know, when you have one that does, you need to listen. You need to pay attention, because if they have your best interest at heart, you've got to listen to the wisdom. And so during that next 30 days, I realized that in my mind and through the experience of listening to what my manager told me to say and saying it word for word, I quickly realized that there were only a few objections in the car business, right? Everything always boiled down to, you know, was it the money? Well, it's not really the money. It's really kind of the time. You know, the objection really was, I've got 2 cars here and I don't know how to get the third one home. Or, you know, and as soon as I realized what the objections were, well, I knew how to overcome them. I was great with people. I just had to find out what the objection was. And so because my manager knew what the answer was to the objection, all I had to do, my only job during that 30 days was to find out what the objection was for real.
That's it. Get rid of the smoke screens.
Yep. So that after that conversation, and this is what's crazy, I blanked for the next 4 days. And it was, you know, it was a little slow. It was just a difficult thing to mentally process.
Right.
But then I brought every single customer. I identified every single objection. I listened. I said word for word what my manager told me, and I sold 24 and a half cars in the remaining 23 days of the month.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
All right. So what did that do for you financially? All the listening to your manager all of a sudden took you from 38/5100 to what number?
My second you get paid twice a month, right? And my second 2-week paycheck, so just the back half of the month, was $10,700.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Listen, 6 figures. That is a 6-figure income, people, right? Because he listened to his manager. Man, there's so many people push back against me, the blind phone master. They push back against management. They push back against everything in the world they can push back against. And then they don't have no money, and then they wonder why. So that was absolutely phenomenal. That's a great daggum story. So what are the keys to, I mean, obviously listen to our managers, but what are the keys to success and making money in the automotive industry?
That's a great question. That's a broad one, but it's a great one. You know, the first thing is you have to wake up and you've got to figure out whether or not you want to make money. I mean, and I do understand that probably works for multiple businesses, but in the car business especially, and especially when you're selling cars and you're talking to customers and you're creating that excitement, you've got to be in the frame of mind that you want to be successful. And And then the second thing, and I think for me, this was the biggest key, this was proved to be true as I became a sales manager and a GSM and a GM and a part, this worked all the way through, is that you have to have excellent people on your team, and you have to work for someone. There has to be one person in your dealership that you respect, that you are willing to learn from. It might not be your manager. It might be the internet director. It might be the GSM. It might be the GM. There's got to be one person though, that you feel that you can tell, that you can entrust your career with, that you can say, I want to be successful. I want you to help me. I'm going to listen. And if you got that, then you are going to be given the tools to be successful. So you once you find the person that is willing to invest in you, you have to tune out every other salesperson that's telling you what to do, because the most of them, man, they don't want you to succeed. And the 6-car guy, there's nothing that he wants more than you to do 6 cars and hang out with him in the circle. So, it's as soon as I realized that, it made all the difference for me. And that really became the same as I became a sales manager, is I realized vice versa. I needed to have the best salespeople on my team in order for me to be successful as a manager. I needed to have salespeople that wanted to learn on my team so that I could take the time to train them. And so I would definitely say that for me, I do not believe that the car business is something that a person can be successful in long-term on their own. You have to work with talented people. You have to work with everybody that you put in your circle, everybody that you come in contact with. You've got to make sure that the most talented people are the people that you are spending the most amount of time with.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. John Wooden said it. He said, man, listen, you can know everything there is to know about basketball. You can know all the X's and O's about basketball. You can know everything. But if you don't have talent on your team, you're not going to win ball games. And so it's the same situation pretty much anywhere. You have to have some talent. And how to get talent is folks got to get trained up. So that's some beautiful stuff. So when you talk about, how to make money as a salesperson versus a manager, because like you got other people who were salespeople. And I apologize, I got an alarm going on outside my window.
Man, that alarm. They actually just found out how much money you make.
Right. So, so it's like how you make money as a salesperson. And then when you get promoted to a manager, so many people they think it's the same, but it's not. It's different. And I heard you just talking about, how you got to train up your people. What else would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to be successful as a salesperson, you have to bring a positive attitude to work on a daily basis, and definitely when you're in front of a customer, and you need to be able to let everyone that's in your circle, anyone that's in your life, anyone you ever come in contact with, needs to know that you sell cars and that you are there to help them, and that you want to sell them a car. Everyone in your life, everyone in your Facebook, everyone in your Instagram, everyone in them nasty Snapchats you're sending, every single person in your life needs to know that you sell cars and you want to help them. So, that is the key. And the more people you stay in contact with, the more you listen to people that want to be successful. And listen, if you're fortunate enough to work at a place where they're going to hire someone like you, or they're going to contract someone like Sean, someone like Dealer Synergy, someone, someone that's going to come in and pour time and effort and talent and training into the management staff and the sales staff. Man, that is, you have to take every advantage as a salesperson. And if there's excellent trainers that are coming, you've got to pay attention. You've got to,
I definitely agree. So, and then you were saying, as far as a manager is concerned, when you grow from being that salesperson that's hungry and all of that, and people see all that, and so then they go, okay, well, we're going to make you a manager. Now, what changes?
So, if you want to be a great manager, and I think that this really goes back to to the very similar to being a salesperson, right? I realized that in my beginning, I was mediocre during those first 90 days as a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to have that saying, you've got to decide, is my entire goal in the car business to become a sales manager? And if it is, then what kind of sales manager is it that you want to be? Do you want to be a mediocre one or a great one?
Mm-hmm.
And the great ones that I have seen all do the same thing. They all are much more of a servant than they are of a dictator.
Say that. That's like money sign, money sound, money sound. That's it.
Yeah. The most attractive quality of a leader is humility. And so when you as a manager see one of your guys struggling and you run out there and you catch their customer at the car because your salesperson blew the deal, and you make the deal for them and you bring the guy back in, and you know what? You don't tell the salesperson that you made the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You tell the salesperson that he made the deal, because the salesperson knows that you made the deal. But when you tell him that it was him, and then you create that confidence, and your salesperson is never going to want to work on anyone else's team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should, like, as a manager, you should never tell your salesperson how good you are. You should only tell them how good they are.
Yeah. When I was doing, it's not about that.
Nope.
It's crazy, man. I'm telling you, but this is some beautiful stuff. So from a financial standpoint, because there are some people who they're great salespeople, and then when they get promoted to a manager, it's like they seem like their income drops. So from a financial standpoint, what did that do for you, and how did you, kind of keep that? Because as the Millionaire Car Salesman listeners, that's what they want to know. They want to know, how do they make the money? That's why I know I got the perfect guest on today.
Well, listen, man, it's about that money. Right? As we say down here in San Diego, right? We're right near the border, man. It's about that feria. We've got that, we got that money, man. And whether it's feria or it's cash or regardless of what language it's in, that's what everybody's working for, right? Otherwise we just stay home.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a sales manager, here's the deal. If you want to be great, and you are honing your skills and you are working on attracting the best talent, because like you said, you could be the best sales manager, you could be the best desk guy, you know how to manipulate gross, you know how to set the customer to where they feel great, and then you tell them that you'll do them a favor and take their trade in, and you scoop $2,000 on the trade. All those things that you can do. If you don't have world-class salespeople, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And world-class salespeople want to work for someone that's going to tell them that they're a world-class salesperson,
mm-hmm.
and is going to want to work for someone that puts money in their pocket. Mm-hmm. So if you can make each of your sales guys, my goal was I wanted each of my salespeople to make $10,000 a month or more. Mm. And every single time that they didn't, I took it as my fault.
Mm.
Because here's the truth. I either hired the wrong person, I hired the right person and didn't train them. I hired the right person, trained them, but then didn't support them when they had a customer in front of them. So one way or the other, it was my fault.
That's it. Taking responsibility, man. That's
absolutely. Yeah. And so as a sales manager, when you've got superstar talent on your team, which is your goal as a sales manager, is to put superstar talent and to make sure that they make a ton of money, you're going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And if the dealership that you're at is not paying you a significant amount of money, when you have superstar salespeople on your team producing great numbers, I promise you, there are dealerships that will.
Mm.
And I'm not a fan of bouncing dealerships. I had the great privilege of working with the Mossy Auto Group for 14 and a half years. Great group here in San Diego, 15 stores, constantly growing. And I really had the privilege of being there, and I was there for a long time. They paid me fairly. The more money I produced for the group, the more they paid me, the more I helped other people in the store make money, the more they paid me. And the more money that I made for the dealership, they had no problem paying me and allowing me to take part in it. So you've got to make money for everyone else around you. If you do that, you will make more money. But it has to be in that order. You have to make everyone else money first before you will get paid more.
Man, Jay-Z said it, man. If everybody is broke around you, here we say you broke if everybody is broke except for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So cool. So now I heard you in your previous, statements, you were talking about holding growth. So can you talk a little bit about how do you maintain growth?
Well, first of all, you have to make a decision really as a salesperson and as a sales manager that your time is worth money.
That's it.
That is first and foremost. You have to be able to make that decision. And the second thing is that you need to make that. You need to ask and to be aware that when you're talking to your customer, if your customer didn't want to work with you, then they could just push the button on their internet and a car can show up at their house, right? If they really didn't want to deal with anybody, they don't have to. So if they're willing to talk to you, talking to a professional salesperson is a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And if you as a salesperson are providing world-class service, you deserve to ask for a world-class profit. The worst thing they can say is no.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, where that comes from is you never really know in the beginning of your conversation with your customer. You never know if they are going to be, you never know if you're going to have a 5-pounder. You don't know if you're going to have a mini. You don't know if in the beginning, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know your inventory and you know which used cars have profitability in them, and you know that if you can get a customer excited about a new car or a used car, and then if the emotion of the customer attaches themselves to the car,
mm-hmm.
you have an opportunity to make gross. If you don't, then you're just a transaction. And then that's when True Car, and that's when, Edmunds and the KBB price and this and that. And, my friend told me, and, that's when that nonsense comes in, man.
Absolutely.
It really is.
That's beautiful stuff, man. All right. So, man, listen, and I love what you're doing because you're giving folks the mindset. And so many times, we always listen to these podcasts because we want the skill set. And, just last week, I had a gentleman that was, really giving specific details on exactly what to say for some social media selling. But, man, I think the mindset is the key. I noticed it so many times. I heard a person on the phone today, listen to a recorded call, and their mindset was just off. It was just, they really didn't want it bad enough. I said, listen, if they found out, if they realized, if it was like, hey, I'm going to make $1 million if this person sets an appointment, they wouldn't let it go so easily. You see what I'm saying? But most people just give up. They just kind of got that defeated spirit. So since we're talking about that type of stuff, the negative side of it, what would you say are the biggest mistakes that people make in the automotive industry? Maybe making excuses, complaining. What would you say?
Well, I think to your point there, since a lot of it has to do with mindset, I think the biggest mistake that people make in the car business is they allow themselves to hang out with people that sell 5 cars a month. I'm telling you, I have never seen a successful person hang out with idiots. I've never seen it. I've never seen a person where you talk to them and they're like, oh man, I sold cars and I made $375,000 last year at a Nissan store. Oh, really? How'd you do it? Well, I hung out with those jackoffs over there underneath the tree smoking cigarettes and, telling them about what I ate and about how I went out last week.
That's nobody's story.
No, it's never happened one time, man. And I can tell you this is that it doesn't matter which dealership you're in, it doesn't matter which state you're in, and it doesn't matter what brand you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
If the people that you are hanging out with are broke bitches, you gonna be broke.
That's it.
That's it. So, that is the biggest mistake that I see in the car business is they hang out with people that are mediocre and then they become complacent.
Yes.
And as sales managers, and this is really where this is where a manager is either absolutely hurting your dealership or they're helping you. If the manager feels like they've reached nirvana because they have a sales manager badge on their shirt, you need to stay away from that individual, because that person is complacent because in their mind, they have accomplished their life's goal.
Man, you are giving them some value, because again, my man Louis Heron, he's been a guest on the podcast, and you guys sound so much alike. And when you hear people who have become dealers, dealer partners, and things, it's just they got bigger goals, man. And so I love it. If you hang out with 4 broke people, you'll probably be the 5th, right? And then the crazy thing about broke people is they always going more broke, trying to prove the broke people that they're not broke. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely, man.
It's amazing.
It is. It's great. It was, if you're really talking about some of the negative habits, some of the things that I see is that, when an individual becomes a manager, if they think that they're better than the salesperson instead of trying to serve the salesperson, that manager will always get blown out. He'll be grumpy and he's going to get fired to go from store to store to store to store.
Mm-hmm.
And if a GSM ever gets to the point to where he was a sales manager and he was a pretty good sales manager, then he gets promoted to a GSM, and all of a sudden he feels like he's reached his nirvana, and now he's telling the sales managers, he's treating them like garbage, and whatever role, the higher your position is, the more money you make, and the higher your title is, the further up the ladder that you get, the more you have to serve others.
Yes, absolutely.
Every time.
I'm in total belief. Yeah. And it's crazy because I don't know, they saw fit to promote me to vice president of dealer synergy.
Wow,
and so
that's awesome.
Man, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And the crazy thing is that's exactly my thought process. Is like, I'm here to help everybody. And that was always my thing. I was always said to him, like, man, I can help you with that. Just all you got to do is just, ask me and just keep me posted. And now it's so crazy because everybody's like, LA, can I get a couple of minutes of your time, a couple of seconds of your time? Absolutely, man. That's what I'm here for, is to help each and every person here be more successful at whatever they're trying to do. So I love it, man. So let's talk about what are the habits of the most successful people? What are they doing that these other folks are not doing? What kind of let folks get a glimpse into the winner's circle? What are the winners?
Sure. Well, so here's the deal. So first of all, you definitely have got to figure out where you want to, you got to figure out where you want to be and what I mean is you got to figure out where you want to be in your city outside of work. So for instance, if you're wherever it is, whatever city you're in, you could be in Cleveland, you could be in Miami, you could be in New York, you could be in Dallas, it doesn't matter where you are, right? But in any city in America, there's nice neighborhoods.
Yeah.
There's fun neighborhoods, there's bad neighborhoods, and then there's neighborhoods you're going to get shot in, right? And so you've got to set the goal for where you want to be, because when you have a goal for where you want to be outside of work, your time that you spend at work will help you get to that goal. So, it's one thing to pull up an image on Instagram and look at the beach and say, man, I'm going to be there someday. It's another thing to drive over there, go to the beach, look at the houses, get a flyer, find out how much money they cost, figure out what you've got to do to make that. Once your heart explodes and because you realize it's a lot more than you thought, then you got to start working and it's not always about the money, but it's about, for me, I have kids, I have a wife. I wanted my kids to go to the right schools. Well, in order for my kids to go to the right schools, I had to live in the right neighborhood. And in order to live in the right neighborhood for my kids to go to the right schools, I had to be able to make X amount of dollars, And in order for me to help out other people, which is what, for me, one of the things that I think, and really I do believe that once you make money, so let's imagine you make 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, so whatever the number is, you start to realize that the reason that you are given that money is for you to be able to help out other people, whether it's your kids, whether it's other families, whether it's people that are in need, whether it's one other person, whether it's, saving, whether it's helping your mom and dad pay off some of their stuff, whether, regardless of what that is, every person that I've met that has had joy and had happiness long-term, that has made a lot of money, every single one of them has been a person that enjoys giving back every time.
Absolutely, man. Listen, money isn't everything, but it does provide options. And that's what we all want in our lives, man. We definitely want options. So that's some beautiful stuff, man. All right. So all of this wisdom, man, I don't know, if you just got it, if, you were just blessed with it, or are there any particular books that you read? I mean, how do you get all of this knowledge? Where's it coming from?
That's a really good question. So, I mean, one of it came from people that I was really fortunate enough to work with and learn from. I mean, there's a guy named Blake Chavez who taught me from ground one. When I was a salesperson, I was in Bakersfield, and he's the one that taught me word for word how to say things. Or there's when I started working at a large group like the Mossy Group, and having someone like Jason Mossy tell me that, that he appreciated my talent and wanted me to be successful. And then meeting someone like you and like Sean and understanding that, man, okay, so there's people that are out there. There's vendors that are out here. There's partners that are out here that want to help me succeed. There's a book. I read this book called With Winning in Mind. And this book is, I believe, required reading for the SEAL sniper team. And it's about Lanny Basham and how he won the Olympics, and basically how he was bad at everything in life. He was literally the worst at every sport: basketball, baseball, football. But he was driven to be world-class at something, and he realized that he didn't have to have all of the athletic ability in the world to be the best marksman, the best sharpshooter in the world. And he built a process, and the process is what he created that works better than what someone else is doing. And so one of the things that I would definitely suggest, if you're a salesperson, you want to be successful, you've been able to you've had the real fortune of working with someone like ULA, or working with Sean and Dealer Synergy, and working with some talented people. If you want to be successful and you don't know exactly the best mental process to get there, you need to read that book, With Winning in Mind. It talks about the mental process it takes to create a successful process. And if you follow a successful process, you will have success at the end.
Cool, man. Yeah, we'll definitely find it and post a link to it in the show notes. So that's some really cool stuff. So, man, you talked about mentors. You talked about that book. Talk about training a little bit. I heard you say about training your people, but how important is training, and what do you recommend people train on?
That's a great question. First of all, I would say your goal should always be to be the dumbest person in the room. And that doesn't, and so you need to look for rooms that have a lot of smart people in them.
There you go.
So if you're looking for training, and, for instance, LA, I mean, when you were here in San Diego and we went out to eat, I did a lot of listening. I wanted to hear what you had to say. And you were better on the phones than anybody that I had ever come across. You were better than anybody that I had ever worked with. You were better than anybody that had ever worked for me. And, it's, I would definitely say you've got to really reach out to and be intentional about finding people that are better than you are. You've got to look for,
Appreciate
so for
that, by the way.
instance, yeah, absolutely. It's, when I met Sean, from Dealer Synergy, I knew right away that he was better at making phone calls and better at building a process for how to be successful when it came to following up with your clients and generating revenue. He was better at that than anybody that I had ever seen. So it was a no-brainer for me to make sure that not only was I going to hire him, but I was going to make it a point to pay attention and listen to it, which is why I made it. I made sure, hey, Sean, not only it's great you're going to train the salespeople, but I want you to train the managers, right? Which is why I signed up for the management training. It's, when it came to digital right now, you've got like e-commerce is a huge thing right now, and you've got a company. I mean, I was at Digital Dealer multiple times. I've been to NADA, and I can tell you right now, hands down, the single best automotive digital marketing firm on the planet is C4 Analytics. They're out of Boston. And the reason they are is because they're smarter than everybody else, and they work harder than everybody else. And it takes 5 seconds of talking with them to know that they are. So I listen to everything that they say because they're smarter than I am when it comes to that part of the, with those things. And so you've got to find out who the best person is that you can talk to, right? Like, so for instance, Warren Buffett might be the best person with money. I can't talk to him. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. I ain't going to call him, right?
Right.
So, but whoever the best person that you can possibly come in contact with, that's who you need to make it a point to learn from and to seek advice from, and to just get next to them. You might just absorb some intelligence, and you might just catch some, you might just catch some fall off, right? Some runoff. Just
right. And that's why books are so important and so valuable, because, I mean, you get everyone's best nuggets and you never even had to meet the person. I mean, Andrew Carnegie talks about that, right? Napoleon Hill talks about it, how, they feel like they have a mastermind network of people who aren't even alive anymore, right?
Yes.
You want Sam Walton's knowledge. I mean, he's not here. You can't sit down and have a conversation with him, but you could darn sure read his book and get his best ideas, because people are not going to write down their worst ideas, right? They're going to write down their best ideas unless it's to learn from it. So that's some beautiful stuff, man. All right. So let's talk about this. What do you love about the automotive industry? Why is this industry specifically for you?
Man, that is, what I love about the car business is, especially in, today's, in today's world and today's market, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what size you are, what you look like, what you're. None of that matters. If you want to crush it, there is a place for you to be able to make your mark and to make your money, regardless of what it is that you got going. I mean, I got out of college base. I was 20 years old, and everybody told me at 20 years old that wanting to be a millionaire at 20 years old was stupid. So I didn't think it was stupid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were broke. So I was so we checked them off, and so I wanted to be successful, and I didn't want to wait until 8 more years or 10 more years before someone else decided that it was okay for me to be successful. The car business allows you to decide what your paycheck looks like. If you're in the car business and your paycheck sucks, it's your fault. Period. Straight up.
You on it, man. Telling you on it. So that's some phenomenal stuff. So all right. So let's take this to the next level because again, I want you to kind of close us out by talking about, from a financial standpoint, what were some of the things you had to do from the moment you made that 10 grand in a half a month, right? Up until now, what did you have to do to kind of build upon your legacy? Can you talk about that and kind of close us out with that, with a story or something? Because obviously you're not a financial advisor, but you could, we can coach them a little bit.
Yeah, we can coach them a little bit. Well, so here's the deal. As you start making more money, it's funny. I actually encourage salespeople during the first 12 months or during the first 24 months. I really encourage them to kind of spend every dollar that they make. And the reason that is one, I want them to stay hungry. Two, I want them to understand that. To your point, money is not going to provide happiness, but it is going to provide options. And once you get past that 12-month, that 24-month area, and you start realizing, okay, well, hey, my goal was 10 grand and my goal was 12 grand and my goal was 120 grand. My goal was 140 grand. And listen, I understand that the title of this show is Millionaire Car Salesman, right? So the reason why I want them to spend that money is that they understand real quick that 10 grand ain't rich. 12 grand isn't rich. You can't buy everything that you want. You can't go stay everywhere that you want. You can't go on vacation everywhere that you want. So once you get an opportunity and you start changing the people that you're hanging out with, you start realizing that, man, there's a lot of people in my city that are worth millions of dollars. And then you've got to go home and you've got to ask yourself, why isn't it me?
I'm telling you. And what's crazy is you're making my heart glad because, it's one of those things where, when we start making money, it's like, man, especially with you and I are kind of similar in the fact that we kind of got that financial representative background, right? I got licenses and all of that good stuff. But it's so crazy because, it's like you shouldn't spend the money, but you want to spend it so bad because you've never had it. You don't really know what it's like to, and so that makes sense to me. And now, because when you said it, I said, well, that's some different advice, but I totally understand and feel where it comes from because you need to know what you're missing for real. Because if you don't, you'll start thinking, okay, well, I'm making some money. No, you're still not making money. Even at 200,000-300,000, you're still not making money, right? There's more, there's further to go. And so, man, I absolutely love that advice. That's so one of a kind. And that was beautiful, man. So thanks so much. So how do people, if they wanted to get in contact with you, where can people find you? How can they hear more? Tell us some more.
Well, contrary to popular belief, you cannot find me on Grindr. Okay. So now, all joking aside, anybody at any time is more than welcome to email me. My email is BK, as in Brian Kennedy, at K, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, A as in Apple, G as in group at kmpag.com. And, what's going to be cool, and I'm definitely going to hit you up, LA, is I'm launching something new, which is something that's going to actually make it easier for every salesperson to never miss a deal again on a trade-in. And awesome. To where, we're going to talk about that on a separate note, but it is going to be great, man. I'd love to help out any of the salespeople that are out there, and anybody's welcome to email me at any time.
100%, man. So listen, y'all know about the Blind Phone Master, and I actually just launched today. Let me see, this podcast is coming out on Tuesday. So it'll be a week before my actual webinar. And so just go to blindphonemaster.com. And so, Brian, you and I are definitely going to put some sort of package together that helps everybody that's listening to this here and anybody who contacts us. So, man, I'm excited. I'm so excited that you all got to listen to this podcast. podcast because I think it was one of the absolute best. And so you got all the information, you got everything that you need. Now it's up to you to go ahead and take action. So I always say that you are the average. We talked about it here on the podcast. You are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, and you've just been spending time with L.A. Williams and Mr. Brian Kennedy. So now it is your opportunity to go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Brian, for joining us.
See, it's a West Coast thing where I'm from, and if you want some, get some, bad enough, take some.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to bradleyondemand.com and take your career to the next level.